Hello, welcome back to another episode of Mac and D. How you doing, James?
I'm great. How are you today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I don't know what you mean by it's fake fall outside, though. It's a beautiful day.
No, today is fantastic. It's been fake fall. It's been 90 degrees outside. St. Louis is miserable half the time.
Yeah, I'm still banking on my theory that we're going to go from the 90-degree days to 20-degree days just basically overnight, which was basically what happened last year. And I love the 60-degree sweet spot. That is a beautiful time of year. And I'm hoping we get more of that. James, it's been a very normal fall, as we just described. Just as we all thought, the leading team in point differential this season is the Indianapolis Colts so far, just as we all predicted.
As predicted, obviously. Yeah. No, I think you could do the victory lap on how great JT has been. No one can do any sort of victory lap on predicting Pittman Jr. coming back, Daniel Jones playing well. Like that whole team is just humming. Um, yeah, maybe I'm just a hater. It feels like at some point, the slipper is going to fall on this team. But if I'm a Colts fan, I'm riding the high while I can.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we were looking ahead to their schedule over the next few weeks. It's not too tough. Plus, they got some sweet matchups going into some of the AFC matchups coming up as well, including a game against the Tennessee Titans, who got their first victory this past week. James, we got to start with some scars and bars this week. A lot more scars than bars, unfortunately, going into this beautiful week 5, excuse me. It's week 6 in college football. Top of the mind for me is this Omarion Hampton injury. He is on IR. How are you feeling about this?
Well, I mean, I hate it because he was really starting to hit his stride. I'm confused. Like he was playing, and all of a sudden he's just like on a bike on the side. Like I never saw a hit that did it, or I mean, like did anything come out of what happened? Because I was kind of slightly watching that game, and I'm just like, oh, huh, Marion's jogging on the sideline, whatever. And then they're like, oh, by the way, he's dead.
Yeah, no, I had the same reaction. They were just like walking him back to the locker room, and it just felt like it happened within a second. So, definitely did not help their chances as the Chargers lost again this past week. That tough game against the Commanders, and now going forward, it's going to be a mix. It feels like with him being out, Najee Harris being out for the entire season, they're really kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to running backs. Kind of went into the season thinking they would have a two-headed monster, and that's just not the case. Looks like it's going to be a lot of Kamani Vidal,
I'm
an oldie but
sorry,
goodie.
is that not a twin-headed monster of Vidal and Haskins? What?
It doesn't scratch the
Put some
itch,
respect on
James.
their name.
It doesn't feel great, unfortunately. There's going to be probably, I think, the big takeaway from this is we're going to get a lot more passing downs from Justin
Can they
Herbert going
pass more
forward.
though? They're like the fourth highest passing team.
They got to start putting more than 10 points on the board, James. I think that's the only way you
They
could
do.
realistically do it.
We got to be
Maybe.
able to block to do that though, and they can't block for shit right now. All of the fears you had starting the season, we didn't see them at the onset, but they've had just a couple too many injuries on that line.
Yeah, things are opening up a little too well for the Chiefs and Broncos once again. We also had a big injury, late injury to Chuba Hubbard. It looked like he might be able to go going into last week, and then we saw a massive game from Rico Dowdle. He had 200 rushing yards this past week, including a touchdown. Talk about an all-time 200-yard rushing game performance. Is it more reminiscent of a Jonas Gray or a Derrick Henry to you?
This is what the Miami Dolphins do to Mother Clucker. I mean, I think the Pats had three separate backs with 70 plus all-purpose yards. Like, if you only have one back playing against the Dolphins, you have to start him. He's guaranteed at least 150 from scrimmage.
Exactly. So yeah, it looks like Chuba Hubbard is going to be back. I'm going to be very curious to see how they ultimately balance the two guys because obviously Dowdle is worthy of some touches at this point. And there's not really any other running backs because Jonathan Brooks is out for the season there. Running through some of these other ones, Chris Godwin is back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans is also still out, as well as Bucky Irving. It looks like it's going to be one more week for Bucky Irving, which for a lot of people like us really, really sucks. A late addition to the injury report was Saquon Barkley. Looks like he has a knee injury, which could be big for the Shipley believers out there. James, my note for the Eagles game this past week. What was with that Tank Bigsby trade? Like, why'd they do it? Like, they clearly just like don't even use him.
Confused. They're not using him, so I don't know what the point of the trade was. Maybe he got in the building and they're just like, oh, this guy's a bum, but it's very confusing.
I feel like Howie Roseman likes to just kind of like shove people's mistakes in their face and loves to like trade for some of these guys like a Jahan Dotson, Tank Bigsby, kind of just collecting Infinity Stones and just making fun of the rest of the GMs. And he just kind of went on a heat check and kind of messed up with this one and forgot he had a running back already available. Looks like we're going to see Lamar Jackson be out for at least one more week, which might spell doom for the Baltimore Ravens. We get another Cooper Rush game. And then another guy who's also week to week is Brock Bowers. This is a little bit of a surprise, which doubly sucked for the Raiders this past week because Michael Mayer was also out, which would have been his
Yeah,
chance
and the
to
problem is
sign.
the news on Bowers is it's like that bone bruise, that Kelsey dealt with maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where it's like, oh, it's not a big deal as long as you're not on your legs for the next 4 weeks. And it's like, oh, but I'm a professional football player.
Yeah.
So the fear right now is he sits the next 2 weeks, then has a bye, and then comes back because that would be that 4 weeks of recovery. If you drafted Bowers in the second round, like you're hurting. Like you cannot have that.
Yeah, if your team is incredibly down bad, and he already wasn't doing anything too insane to start the season, which is tough. And then the logical thing that you would think as a fallout from this is, oh, it's Jacoby Myers season, right? He is still without a touchdown this season, James. Classic
That
Jacoby
Raiders team is
Myers.
bad, dude.
It hurts. It hurts the soul. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall are likely going to be back here in a little bit. Purdy a little bit surprising me given how nasty that turf toe was. Scary Terry is likely still out, so us Debo Samuel believers were eating good still. And then Jalen Warren back, maybe, perhaps. We saw a huge Kenny Gainwell game 2 weeks ago coming off a bye. You would think that Jalen Warren's back, right? Like no more Caleb Johnson. It's going to be Jalen Warren.
I would think so. Um, Honestly, at this point, do you just roll with Kenny?
Probably, maybe. Jalen Ward looked
Yeah.
awesome whenever he's healthy. It's just like the Steelers are so weird with their injury report. They always do it last second or super cryptic. So that is
Mhm.
something to monitor. On the defensive side, the Lions are once again down a lot of defenders, which is a trend now. It's a pattern. Their top two cornerbacks are going to miss some significant time. Terrion Arnold, he looks like he's going to be out for potentially the whole season. He had a shoulder injury, which honestly might be addition by subtraction for the Lions. And then their top corner, DJ Reed, signed a big contract going over from the New York Jets. He's going to miss some time as well. So Lions about to be a team that you want to start some wide receivers against
What
realistically.
if, what if we had a fun little, you guys get Carlton Davis back for one improperly used Jamison Williams and we just see what happens?
We just see what happens. We were talking about this last night. Jameson Williams, man, just not getting a lot of targets, not getting a lot of receptions, stretching the field, getting everybody else open, which could be huge for a Patriots. But yeah, I don't want Carlton Davis back. He's been kind of stinky this year. And then Monday Night Football last night, we had the Chiefs versus Jaguars, and Brenton Strange, who was having a great start to the game and great start to the season, honestly, really getting more involved as a pass catching tight end after being a second round pick a couple of years ago. He got hurt. He's getting strange, a little too strange, and he landed himself on IR. So that's a big hit for guys who are streaming tight ends like myself. James, do you have any bars before I get into mine in the scars and bars
I no,
section?
I watched a lot of silent football this. I mean, the only game I really sat down and watched was the Patriots game, just the way my schedule worked out. So I don't have anything crazy because Collinsworth's not worth quoting.
That's valid. Although Drake May did get his first Chris Collinsworth chuckle, where he just like, now here's a guy, and it's like that's a rite of passage, dude. That's pretty
It is
exciting
a
for
rite of
Drake
passage.
May. But my first bar comes from Sunday Night Football. We had Mike Tirico on the mic, of course, and he always is good for one or two good quotable moments. And he said, as Drake May was breaking a tackle, getting off to the edge, which he did a few times this past week to be able to have a last second pass to the safety, to his safety look. We had Mike Tirico saying, May got away. And I just thought that alliteration was just so smooth, basically like a lyricist. And then my other bar for the week, non-football related, it was from Victor Wembanyama, who the Spurs have been having some preseason matchups. They had one against a Chinese team the other night. And Jason, I don't know if you would see it, but Victor Wembanyama, he grew another inch. He's also getting increasingly stronger and heavier. It doesn't even look real. Like this is kind of like what everybody was warning us about could end up happening. He's taking the ball up all the way down the court and then just doing one stiff arm to someone's chest and then is able to dunk. It's incredibly scary. And the reporter afterwards was like, "Hey man, like you only did that a few times. Like why don't you do that every single play?" And Victor Wembanyama said, "I've turned down shots I can make with my eyes closed, but that was to get one of my teammates a shot he can make in his sleep." And I was like, "Wow, that is beautiful. That is poetry right
It's
there."
good. That's a good teammate. Wemby's gonna be scary. I hope he stays healthy the whole season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he would have been depoy last year if it wasn't for his injury. All right, James, get into one takeaway from every game. This feels like this happened weeks ago, but it was only a handful of days ago. Thursday night football, 49ers over Rams.
So you talked about Purdy coming back, and the question is, do the Niners even want to rush him back the way Mac Jones is playing? So my takeaway was Mac is about to have a job for at least the next 15 years. He will be able to kind of be like a Minshew. He'll start in some spots. He'll get to always be a backup if the starting doesn't work. But like Mac Jones is kind of proving right now why he was a first round draft pick, and that maybe with a competent OC, he wouldn't have flamed out in New England.
Yeah, the league is not done with Mac Jones by any means. If anything, this is just confirmation that Kyle Shanahan prefers to have his backups in there because he gets to stunt on the rest of the league. This is a good Rams defense. And Mac Jones, he went
It was
out.
a gutty performance. I mean, Mac is like puking on the sideline, his legs cramping up. I mean, like dude's like limping on the field. It's just like, well, there's no one else. They kept panning to the backup, who's like panic in his eye, thinking he has to go into the game, and then like smiling when he sees Max back on his feet.
Yeah, that was my boy Adrian Martinez doing all that. And yeah, I mean, Mac Jones, like you said, was just getting hit by Jared Verse and Byron Young left and right. And he went out of his hotel on the night before the game, apparently saw a dead body in the river, and he still had that level of performance despite the emotional and physical damage. That's my goat right there. Texans over Ravens is the next game on Sunday.
Yeah, I just gave the call. I mean, I know it's due to injury, but I'm like, man, the Ravens are bad, right? Like, did they even get a single pressure on CJ Stroud?
Felt like not, despite
That's the
feeling
one thing. Like that's
impossible.
the one reason I'm like the Ravens might still win this game because that line's that bad. I mean, CJ was standing back there like a statue, didn't have to move at all. Absolutely bananas.
Yeah, it kind of defied belief. And then, shockingly, just about an hour ago, the Ravens traded away their number one pass rusher, Ofade Owe, former first round pick, had double-digit sacks last season. Trade him to the Chargers, which I think is a great pickup, especially with Khalil Mack still being on IR right now. The rationale that I kept hearing was that they got some additional safety help. It allowed Kyle Hamilton play a little bit more in position, allowed their linebackers to not have to split out wide as much, and realistically, you can stay a little bit more in line. But it feels like the white flag going up for the Ravens a little bit. You know, Matabuke is out for the season. That's their number two pass rusher on the interior. And it feels like the Ravens are just brutal at this point. And you know, the Texans at this point, they just need to keep winning. They need to keep pace with the 4-1 Colts, the 4-1 Jags, which is crazy. And so yeah, that was a big win for them, and a big blowout as well, which is very tough for the ego for the Ravens. My Lions beating up on the Bengals, man.
Dude, looking at the Bengals, Jamar might be cornerback one. 3 tackles on the day. I don't know if you saw that. First ever player to have like 150 yards and 3 tackles in a game.
It's impressive, man. He is DB1, like you're saying. The Lion does not concern himself with the opinion of the Cincinnati Bengals. And
Mhm.
it's very fun watching Jake Browning go out there and just be the ultimate boom or bust guy. And they just traded for Joe Flacco, just swapped late round picks to be able to
Joe
get Joe
Flacco's going to
Flacco.
die behind that line.
Yeah,
He's getting the pass rush is going to beat the ball to him.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch. Joe Flacco is awesome whenever he's able to hold the ball for 4+ seconds, but anything prior to that, and he is one of the worst quarterbacks in all of the NFL. That's going to be a tough situation for him, and hopefully we'll see him on the Steelers next year so he can do the whole AFC North circuit. That'd be very fun. Vikings over Browns Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean this one it's like it's just hilarious that the owner called down that Haslam made them pick Shadur because clearly Gabriel is who Stefanski wants in the game, right? Like it's kind of like the JJ McCarthy type thing. Like Stefanski's going to play Gabriel until his legs fall off. And he's already gotten all clear because they shipped Joe Flacco out of town. So like Shadur's just a distraction for the Browns, which is comical because that's the Cleveland Browns for you. It's just a dysfunctional organization.
Shadur's quarterback too, man. He's very quickly moving up now that Kenny Pickett's not there, Joe Flacco's not there anymore. He's QB too, man. He's making the moves. Yeah, the Browns look increasingly rough, and Dylan Gabriel's not bad. They're calling him the computer, which I think is hilarious because there's like a bazillion smarter quarterbacks in the NFL than Dylan Gabriel, which is no offense to him, honestly. But yeah, they looked incredibly safe. They looked incredibly boring, and I just don't really see anything changing until the offensive line and the quarterback situation realistically changes. But the encouraging thing I saw from this game was Isaiah Bond. Man, we were talking him up hugely on the last podcast. He had 8 targets this past week, looking better than Jerry Judy in a lot of
And you turn
ways.
that into how many yards and how many touchdowns?
It's all about opportunity percentage, James. That's
Yeah.
it's a volume game
Yeah,
in the
that's what I felt
NFL.
about with Calvin Ridley for the first month of the season. That did not help.
Exactly. Colts over Raiders. Huge win for the Colts.
Not to repeat myself, the Raiders are also bad. They are not good.
Yeah, we saw a lot of blowouts in the early slate. It was an incredibly boring noon slate on Sunday. Big win for the Colts. Happy for them. They're going to keep doing their thing. This is the second JT trifecta of running back rushing touchdowns that we saw from him. I just cannot believe that Geno Sith Lord already has 9 interceptions. That's crazy, just being 5 games into the season. The encouraging thing I'm seeing from this game is that GT's looking way better. He's going back into that upright stance, the Michael Meyer move, if you will, and he's getting involved in the passing game for the first time all season, which is awesome. And he's just actually having more than a couple of yards of breathing room once he gets the rock, which is awesome. Saints over Giants.
Yeah, this was a classic Giants loss, right? You have some momentum. You beat who you think is a great Chargers team with your first start on your rookie quarterback, and let's just go and blow a game against an arguably incredibly horrible team.
Yeah, incredibly tough. And if the Giants are going to have any hope this season, you got to win these type of games. Instead, they give the Saints their first win of the season and give Kellen Moore his very first win as an NFL head coach. I'd say he doesn't get used to that. There's probably not going to be a lot going on for the rest of the season. Then on a
Not with
fan,
that roster.
exactly. And then on a fancy takeaway, Taysom Hill is back. He was injured going into the season, and now he's back. And he was
I've heard
really,
Kamara might get traded.
it could happen. I mean, they got Kendrick Miller. They got a couple of other guys that they brought in this offseason. I mean, if you're a contender, realistically, you go after Kamara, no problem. But my big other fantasy takeaway is that Jawan Johnson's just going to have his lunch eaten realistically. Taysom Hill was in there for every short down, short yardage situation, including most of the goal line work. And that's just going to really eat into what Jawan Johnson realistically does on a week over week basis. He's a bit of a touchdown merchant. So very, very tough looking for old Jawan Johnson. Cowboys over Jets.
Old Jerry Boy is feeling himself. He's flipping off the crowd. He's doing victory laps. He went tie into a victory. The Cowboys can't be stopped right now, even though it's too. Well, the Packers good. The Jets are awful. Like you're supposed to beat them.
Yeah. That was an impressive performance, honestly, by the Cowboys. I feel like their most complete performance, honestly, really was in control of the game from start to finish, despite having a lot of backups out there. Dak Prescott, last 2 weeks, he has 7 total touchdowns, 8 if you add in the rushing touchdown that he had, and no picks, almost more importantly. So the Cowboys are really moving. I was impressed, though, by the Breece Hall movement, even with all of the offensive linemen that are hurt on that offensive line. He's still averaging almost 8 yards per carry this past week, James. And that's an impressive look. The thing is with some of those hits that he's taking, though, he also had a lot of fumbling issues this past week. He had a fumble that he lost, and then he had a second one that actually got overturned literally like 5 plays before. So not liking that for
Dynasty
Brees.
trade that happened in a league I'm in. Bruce Hall for Rasheed Rice. Which side would you want?
I saw that because we're in that league together, and I had to think pretty long and hard about it. I think Rashi just slightly, just because wide receivers have a little bit more longevity to them.
Yeah, I do too because I was the one that traded Brees for Rasheed. So
Yeah, understandably. I honestly, if Brees gets traded, that's a big trade target in real life fantasy as
Mhm.
well. Like that is someone that I would go after because he's still super young, man. He could still do something awesome for another winning team. Broncos over Eagles.
I mean, this is what happens when you play ugly games, right? The Eagles are a good team, but when you're not blowing people out, you let a group hang around. They squeak games out against you. Like you got to start winning more commandingly if you want to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it feels like that's going to be the story of the Eagles season. It's kind of like the Chiefs last year, where it's just you're grinding out victories and winning a lot of close games. And, they need to start doing that for sure. Really opened up a lot of the NFL because we saw not only the Eagles go down, but we also saw the Bills go down. So we have no longer have any teams that haven't any teams that haven't had a loss yet, which is crazy. We have had a team, the Jets, that don't have a win yet, and so it's really flattening out the NFL and it's really making it possible for a lot of teams to get back into that one seed line, which I'm very excited for my Detroit Lions. Yeah, the my big takeaway from this is just the the Saquon Barkley wheel route is so unfair. Like if they get him involved in the passing game even more, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Whenever they do any sort of fake out of a heavy formation of any kind, teams of defenses immediately think that you're running the ball up the gut. Anything that's in an I formation or even a double split back, teams are just so obsessed with stopping anything that's going up the gut, and then Barkley just like leaking out to the right. It's so beautiful, man. I wish that they would do it more often, honestly. Panthers over Dolphins.
The Dolphins are who we thought they were. I mean, this team can't stop a nosebleed. It's bad. I, Mike McDaniel and Dable are speed running who can get fired first.
Yeah, it's going to be tougher for the Dolphins before it gets better. The only like encouraging thing for the Dolphins this season is that Tua is actually staying healthy, which is a miracle. My takeaway here is that A Chain is truly situation proof at this point. We kind of already knew that, but it really is just rearing its head at
Asterisk.
this point,
Asterisk. As long as Tua is in there. Because we've seen
True.
as soon as Tua leaves, he doesn't get those 10 targets a game, and it looks really bleak.
He's looking like a wide receiver out there, man. I mean, that one route that he had into the end zone to be able to get that receiving touchdown to, again, salvage a day, that was a thing of beauty. I mentioned Jacoby Myers doesn't have a touchdown this season, despite all the targets, all the opportunity percentage. The other guy that doesn't have a receiving touchdown yet this season, Ted McMillan. How does he not have a touchdown, James?
I don't know because it's not like he's not force fed, right? I mean, that one's confusing for sure, especially because he should be your red zone target. Like you get to the ball the 1 yard line, you run the ball twice, you throw a fade to Ted twice is basically your offensive game plan. But I mean, to me, that's like why he's such a trade target, right? At some point, the touchdowns will happen. And all of a sudden, he's gonna be putting up like 30 points a game.
Yeah, not to mention the second half of a rookie season could be incredibly beautiful. Bryce, I feel like at this point we can just say he's a second half of season type of guy. He was ugly the last couple of seasons early and then really great late. I think that you kind of bank on Ted McMillan improving, which obviously the person you're trading with is also going to know. So you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium, but this might be your best opportunity to get him at a decent price. We've talked about a lot of ugly games, James. This might have been the ugliest of them all. We had the Titans getting their first one of the season over the Arizona Cardinals.
This was proof that God hates the Cardinals, right? I mean, the things that had to happen. DeMarcado drops a walk-in touchdown, right? And even upon replay, I'm like, I think he crossed the line. The NFL just has said, hey, if it's even close, we're overturning it because we're sick of these dudes doing this BS. Because I mean, he's across line with the ball in his hand and then flips it, and they're like, no, he flipped it. He's out. So that has to happen. An interception that's then fumbled, kicked into the end zone, and recovered. That had to happen. They didn't miss the PAT. They still got the ball back and got a feel like I mean the amount of insane things that was happening was just unreal. And again, I mean I know this wasn't the main takeaway, but it is for me going forward. I'm never drafting a Cardinal again because that's the most unwatchable fantasy team. Kyler got hit in the face with a freaking errant snap that counts as a fumble. Again, DeMarcado drops a touch. Like everything about it's like I can't root for any player on this team. This is an unwatchable franchise.
Yeah, Kyler Murray apparently got concussed off of that. They don't really know where or how he got hurt. He didn't end up taking any more hits, but he had to kind of like walk along the sideline, go to the locker room for a second after he got hit. I can't believe that you subjected yourself to this game. Like you were texting me about it individually. You're like, oh
I didn't
wow, I'm
look away.
watching
It's
this
like
one.
watching a train crash.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm only gonna box score watch this game because anything beyond that is just too much to bear. The only guy that feels like on a week to week basis, and it's just because of pure volume that you can count on, is Marvin Harrison Jr. You know, he had the Thursday night first half from hell, but he's been able to bounce back pretty nicely from it. He had a reception that he was able to moss a couple of guys, and luckily didn't get ruled at the one, ended up scoring the touchdown. But yeah, it's an ugly offense, and Jonathan Gannon was able to get some good vibes in there for a while, but he's yelling at DeMercado on the sideline. Like that was really weird. He came out and apologized for it today too, which is also really weird. So I'm just not liking the Cardinals vibes after being one of their biggest supporters going into the season. So shout Cam Ward though, and honestly, I still can't believe that Calvin Ridley got the stat line that he did. It still looks fake. You showed it to me. I still don't
My
believe in
my
it.
my bench this week hurt my soul so hard with Ridley and Bill on the bench while I have Travion and DeMarcado in my lineup.
And you did the logical thing. That's exactly what I
I
told you,
know.
what I told you to do going into the week. And yeah, sometimes the fantasy guys just don't smile down on you. Next up on the slate, we got Bucks over Seahawks, arguably the game of the week.
Darnold's legit, man. I kind of thought getting away from KOC was going to hurt him. Now he had to just get away from the Jets and he could finally shine. Like that was a word. Like the Seahawks look like geniuses dropping Gino and grabbing Darnold.
Yeah, and I kind of was not a huge supporter of that move, but out of the whole musical chairs that was going on, the Seahawks definitely won the quarterback carousel a few weeks into this 2025 season. Sam Darnold's looking legit. 4 touchdown day. Can't get mad about that by any means. Of course, he did end up having that turnover to Levante David. Still elite, mind you. Unk still got it. But yeah, Sam Darnold was awesome in this game, and the Bucks were able to pull it out. But I think you can pretty safely say like the Seahawks are a top five, top 10 team in all of the NFL right now, which going into this year, it was kind of iffy on if that was going to be the case. If they can get healthy on D back, actually have Tariq Woolen actually do something. This could be a pretty dangerous team come playoff time. Commanders over Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers line is finally catching up to them. They lost Rashawn Slater. It didn't affect them against the Chiefs, and they lost all. And it's like, okay, things are kind of falling apart. That they lost their guard as well, right? Like, I mean, they're out there rocking the USC starting lineup basically, and they're just getting absolutely demolished.
Yeah, that was nasty. And it's also hurting on the defensive end. I felt like I was watching a college game at the end of it. I was literally live tweeting during the game and I tweeted out, hey, are the Chargers even going to get the ball back? Because I think the Commanders got the ball back. I think it was like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Chargers are
Yeah,
down 2 scores and
just
need
walk down the field.
yeah, and just kept going and kept going. A couple penalties, a couple long runs, just kept churning out 4 or 5 yard rushes, a
Did,
10
did
yard
you see
rush
the
here.
the drive where the Chargers converted on like 2nd and 20 and 3rd and 26, but both were negated by penalties?
Yeah, it's brutal. They and the Chiefs feel like the most like penalized team in all of the NFL. I don't have data to back any of that up, but just based off like terrible moment to get a flag, it feels like them are the top two right now. It's just costing them games left and right. But yeah, you called it out. Bill Krosky Merritt, insane game. Where there's arguments over like, hey, is he JCM or is he BCM? I think he's just YPC. He's averaging 6.6 yards per carry right now, James.
He's
He's
got to get more
insane.
touches, right?
Yeah. I mean, even
Like
with the committee, you gotta move him up that.
you have to find a way to give him 15 touches a game, 15 to 20.
Yeah, I'm a believer at this point. And big shout out to their offensive line too. They also kept Jaden Daniels clean. That could have very easily turned into an RG3 2.0 kind of moment where he just keeps getting
Mhm.
hurt and hurt and hurt. They looked awesome this past week. And also shout out Debo Samuel. I mean, that clutch reception at the very end of the game to ice the game, put them up 3 scores at that point, 27-10. That was a huge catch for him as well. Sunday Night Football. It's here, man. You were waiting all day and you ended up getting rewarded, man. What a huge win.
Dude, the Pats are emerging, man. You know what I mean? Like they're truly a team that can win any game. I don't think they're gonna all of a sudden rip off like a 10 game win streak. Like there's a lot of youth, a lot of just inexperience. We have a really bad linebacking core, but when we're hot, we look good.
Yeah, and I feel like going into this year, you were like, I don't know how I feel about the front four, and I mean more specifically the front seven. You forgot Milton Williams' name on a podcast. You were like, oh, is Harold Landry washed at this point? And I mean, look at them now, man. They're arguably one of the best groups in all of the NFL right now, and only getting healthier with like Tyvi getting back and everything. So it's an
Yeah.
impressive group.
We need that Raiders game back. We win that one by 30 if we play them this week.
Yeah, that's just new coach, new situation, right? Like, hey, you have a coach that
Week
hasn't
one
coached
is
in a couple
not
of
real
years,
football. Week one
Yeah.
is preseason. Like it's always just shit happens.
Then Patriots win one week one last year, and then of
Yeah.
course proceeded
Yep.
to.
And then proceed to lose the next 13.
Yeah, exactly. So it just flips like that. I've been incredibly impressed by Marcus Jones. He's one of the few guys left from, I think it was a 2021 draft for the Patriots. He's do it all. Obviously known as a special teams guy, had a return touchdown last week. But
Almost did
dude,
too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's crazy how good he's also looking on defense. Like he's obviously not getting the huge splash play whenever it comes to being a DB, but gosh dang, does he just get some pass
I mean, he picked
breakups?
off Josh Allen. That's pretty good.
Exactly. Like you really can't get mad about his overall production, especially with where they drafted him. I feel like he's going to get a bag from you guys. Realistically, he's a little undersized, but I really love me some Marcus Jones.
Yeah.
Um, Patriots schedule also. I
Yeah.
was pointing this out to you. Very favorable over the next handful of
Yeah. I
weeks.
don't know if you saw this. It's super like niche, but the Pats were playing Marcus Jones and Spillane on like third downs Sunday night. Like they were doing some really unique looks where they're like, hey, bring in our really fast, like rangy special teams guys and just let them go, right? It's like if Spillane was on the field, they're like, all right, rip towards the quarterback, see what happens. And like Marcus Jones wasn't really playing DB. He was just playing like a kind of like a weird zone where it's like if someone undercuts, just try to jump the ball and it worked. Like we're really throwing some unique looks out there, which is fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And McDaniels on the offensive side was absolutely cooking. Obviously, they had a super motivated Stephon Diggs, which helps a ton. Had 146 receiving yards, definitely
He
his
killed
best
me.
game of the
He
entire
killed me
season.
in fantasy.
Yeah, sorry, bud. I think you
It's
take
like
that.
the worst scenario, right? Where Diggs gets all the yards, all the catches, and then the running backs get all the touchdowns. So Drake just had like an okay 300-yard no turnover night.
Yeah. And I mean, it's awesome how much Drake May is able to get going on the ground, but I would love for you guys to figure out your running back situation. We saw the running back high for rushing yards this past week for the Patriots was Henderson with 24. That's like FCS levels. That's so freaking bad.
Well, yeah, and freaking Ramondre's stat line was like 6 carries for 8 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was so stupid. And
Yeah,
then the
he's
entire, icing the game drive, everyone in Pat's Nation's holding their breath. They're like, Jesus, he's about to fumble. Like no one believed he wasn't going to fumble the ball, but luckily he did hold on.
I had all these people on Twitter that were attacking me. They were like, "Oh, that's football for you. Like you clearly don't watch the games because sometimes that's just what happens." I'm like, "No shit," but it's still a super unethical two touchdown game. Like Stevenson did everything he could to lose that game for you guys, realistically,
Mhm.
and they got rewarded with two touchdowns. It's like, God dang, and
Yeah,
those things matter.
everything lined up for Travion to just take over as RB1. He's again was running really well with the ball, secures the ball, is good in the pass game, and it's just like, but we're gonna keep Ramondre rolling in the red zone. When we really need this touch to matter, let's give it to Mondre.
Painful. And next few weeks, the Patriots have New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, all going into the Tom Brady Bowl on November 9th, Patriots versus Tampa Bay. We could be looking at a 7-2, 6-3
We
Patriots
could, but
team.
again, there's a chance we drop one or two of those games too. Like we're just a weird team right now. I love the momentum. I want to still believe we got to win those super winnable games before it's just like all right, all full steam ahead.
And schedule's opening up though. I mean, like Cincinnati before we got Joe Burrow coming back. We got New York who has quarterback trouble. We have Baltimore currently has quarterback trouble. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of good games that you guys
Yeah,
have coming up. That's helpful. It's helpful when the schedule opens up for you. And then, of course, we have Monday Night Football. I think this is your favorite hate watch of the entire season. We had Patrick Mahomes having an interception on the goal line, whiffs on trying to get the tackle as Lloyd returns it for a 100, basically 100-yard interception return with the Jaguars over the Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
yeah. I sent you a Snapchat of the box score, and I was like, what is this? Like the true college stat line where the two quarterbacks were also the two leading rushers in the game. Wild to see. But as a hater, right, watching Pat throw a 99-yard interception return, fantastic. Watching Chris Jones,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yep.
Give up on a play as Trevor Lawrence is on the ground, and then Trevor Lawrence just gets up and runs for a touchdown is just pure cinema. A lot of things to for the haters to love on this Monday night is beautiful.
Yeah, it was so
Oh,
wonky.
and
So
my Chiefs, one of my best friends, Chiefs fan, texting about how the refs are hosing the Chiefs, and it's like, oh, so you're aware how the NFL feels after 5 years of watching the Chiefs get every flag.
no, truly. I mean, like 9 times out of 10, despite that game being in Jacksonville, yeah, it's just an absolute ref sesh for the entirety of the game. I could not believe how little push that offensive line and more specifically the running backs could get all game long for the Chiefs. And it felt like the only receiver that was really making any sort of effort to get open for Mahomes was Tyquan Thornton. We obviously had Hollywood Brown skitterbugging around whenever he was, getting the ball in his hands. He had some awesome jukes, but it really felt like the only reliable guy was Tyquan Thornton for Mahomes. He was trying to do everything out there. And then
Yeah, that hurts
Jacksonville,
to see.
Jacksonville side of things, I mean, it was a pretty ugly Lawrence game to start. Anytime his first read was covered, he was paralyzed, couldn't do anything. But he was able to improvise. He obviously had the fumble, the reception, recovery, and then the run into the end zone. Like that was incredibly impressive. Just a heads up play. We were literally 1 yard away, James, from Trevor Lawrence having his best fantasy performance of all time last night, despite the 2 turnovers. So a very, very good T-Law game through and through. All right, James, you want to run us through our waiver claims, cutter off, and panic button, guys?
Yeah, waiver claims. You said it earlier. Hassan Haskins. I would throw in the Vidal as well. We don't know who's going to get it. They're probably just going to split it almost evenly. With Vidal being the pass catching back, so he's exciting. Michael Carter shouldn't be on your claims, but if he is, get him. Who's Ryan Flournoy? I do not know who this guy is.
Ryan Flournoy. Oh my goodness, what a guy. I did not know who he was, but somehow Fox had a cartoon graphic ready for his face. Incredible work by their department. Sixth round pick out of SEMO, Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau. Shout out Missouri. Had over 100 receiving yards this past week. I think he could have a big few games before CD Lamb comes back as that X receiver.
Oh, they said CD's coming back this week,
No, no, no,
hopefully.
no, no. Flournoy.
Yeah.
Flournoy.
All right.
Remember the name.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Theo Johnson, agree there. Xavier Hutchinson, Kendrick Bourne. I mean, everyone saw him on Thursday night get a bazillion catches for a bazillion yards. Then cut him off. Juwan Johnson, as we were saying earlier. Cooper Cup, yeah, dude's dead. Isaiah Pacheco, unstartable. I said cut off Jameson Williams. You only have the panic button. DeMarcado, I mean, do you trust starting him ever again? Right. And then Kareem Hunt. I mean, if you're a running back for the Chiefs, like you can't put that dude in your lineup. You just don't know.
Yeah, DeMarcado's tough because it's like, hey, if he was going to be the starter for the rest of the season or even the RB2 for the rest of the season, you could realistically say he might be able to get back into favor. But Benson realistically is going to be back here in a couple of weeks and he's going to reassume a lot of that work. I just don't think it's
Dude,
necessarily worth
DeMarcado
banking
is
on
the
him.
first ever RB2 to watch the RB1 get hurt and become RB3.
It's an impressive fall off. I mean, you got to work your way down somehow, and he found a way. The Jameson Williams stuff is tough because it's like the man is a distraction in every sense of the word. That is exactly JMO's game. He only has one game over the season, James, with over 6 fantasy points. That is
Was
incredibly
it probably
tough.
like 25 points as well because it was like a two touchdown type game?
No, it was a 2 reception game over 100 yards and a touchdown, but
Okay.
it's like that's the JMO experience, man.
That's what he does. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not that I think he's a bad player. He's a bad fantasy player. You can't confidently start him ever.
As we get into the buys, though, and especially as we get into more of these injuries, he is a fun start in your flex, right? Whenever it's like, hey, you can't reliably. What are you gonna do, Calvin Austin? What are you gonna do? You're gonna do, Xavier Legette. I'd rather have that dart throw of Jameson Williams, who could like single handedly win you your week. That's the only reason you hold on to him. If you're expecting him to be your wide receiver 1 or 2, which I know some people who kind of went zero wide receiver and were banking on him as like their fourth, fifth round pick, you're in a tough spot, bud. That would be an incredibly, incredibly tough watch. Any games you're looking forward to this week, James?
Honestly, don't know the slate. It was a long weekend. We got the Chicago Marathon coming up this weekend, so I have not been paying attention to football. I've been paying attention to that more so.
Yeah, I think the marquee one is going to be Niners Buccaneers, two 4-1 teams going for the top seed
Let the
in the
Bucks just
NFC.
dominate them. The offensive line play is going to be brutal.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one still. Just good to watch overall.
Mhm.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.